All right, welcome out. Here we are. We are now going to be doing the Constitution. How are we going to learn about the Constitution? Well, first and foremost, do we want to become constitutional scholars? Do we want to become constitutional lawyers? Do we want to become Constitution intellectuals? Do we want to know it deep and profound and thorough all the way through top to bottom? No. We don't have time for that, okay? So, but as concerned citizens, I hope you're concerned, we do want to learn some of the basics of the Constitution, have kind of a basic constitutional understanding. So that's what we're going to do. We're also going to learn how to learn. This is a problem, a bit of an aside, but nevertheless relevant. One of the things that you're not taught to do in school is how to learn, which is problematic, I guess, right? It's like bringing your car to a mechanic and he says, well, I've never had any mechanic courses. Now, I don't know how to fix a car, but I'll give it a shot, right? So it's kind of like all you're given for school. It's kind of like you're out in the middle of the desert. Somebody walks up to you with a basketball and says, here, become the next Michael Jordan. And the person walks away and you go, what is this? And who's Michael Jordan? Right? Well, probably you might know that, but that's the problem. You're not given any tools. There's no approach. What are you supposed to learn? What are you supposed to be learning? Why are you learning it? What do you need to learn? What do you need to know for your career, life, community activity at the community, state, nation, federal level? Why am I learning this stuff? And is there anything that I'm not learning that I need to learn? And yes, there is. Oh, yes, there is, my friend. And I've talked about that, and we'll continue to talk about that as the days go by. Anyway, so you're not taught how to even approach a subject. I want to learn how to become a computer programmer. I want to learn how to write an essay. I want to learn how to do basic mathematics. I want to learn what the Constitution is. I want a general understanding of the Constitution. Where do you begin? This is critical thinking. Critical thinking is nothing more than just asking questions, yes, more specifically, the right questions. Relevant, pertinent questions. Look those words up if you don't know them. There's some words that you need. That's another thing you need to do is look up words. I'm looking at the Bill of Rights. I've got some outlines here. I've got an outline of the Bill of Rights, and there's some vocabulary in here that I'm sure would get by many people. I don't want to say most, but many people. And these are words that are not uncommon. They're not the top tier. They're not the $80, $90, $100 words. They're probably mid-shelf words. If you're looking at shelves, you got your bottom shelf, common words, mid-shelf, somewhat common, and then your top shelf, the elite words that are very rarely used, that not everybody knows, unless you maybe have some letters after your name, PhD, MA, MS, whatever. Anyway, so you have to start somewhere. Should I read the Constitution? Just grab the Constitution and start reading? Not a bad start. That's a good idea. You're kind of there. But you have to do something more than that. You have to step back. If you try to get into the details too much, whether you're learning about economic basics or philosophy basics or mathematical basics, constitutional basics, you have to step back first. You have to get an overview of things, right? You go from bigger to small. Like if you're learning an essay, how to write essays, you don't start with spelling, syntax, grammar. No. And I'm sure you have a lot of teachers that are teaching you in that manner, teaching that first, which isn't bad as long as they're doing the other stuff, which I'm going to talk about. First of all, you have to look at the bigger picture. Essay, just definitions. Essay, what does that mean? Well, it's writings with a main idea. That's all it is, right? Where is the main idea expressed in the thesis? What is a thesis? What is a title? What is an introduction? What are developmental paragraphs? What are concluding paragraphs? What are paragraphs? What are the different types of paragraphs? What are academic paragraphs? What are paragraphs in general? What is a sentence? What is a phrase? What is a clause? What is a word? Get some definitions down. How about some grammar? How about subject-verb agreement? How about adjective, pronouns, indefinite pronouns? So you're working your way down into the details. If you can't see the forest for the trees, that means you're in the details too early, right? So if you jump right into the Constitution, it's not a bad place to start, but you're still going to go in a bit, if not a lot, blind, all right? So what I've done here is, I also have a nice book that you can purchase if you're interested. This is my attempt. It's called The People's U.S. Constitution, right here. Academics and Lawyers Can Go Elsewhere by Jeffrey P. Brown. It's an international bestseller. It's not. It's been bought a few times, probably mostly by my students. But anyways, what I did was that I said, we need to know the law of the land. Everybody, even if you're not a client of mine or a student of mine, I'm not coaching you, even then you need to know just the basics, right? Why? Because laws that are created and set at the community level, state level, federal level, right, affect you. And what's going on, especially in Washington at the federal level, affects us. Joe Biden, just read this morning, as a matter of fact, what was it? Several billions, $4 or $5 billion of loan relief, student loan relief. I don't know how he's doing it, smoke and mirrors, and I don't know if he's just threatening to do it, and the courts are going to step in again and slap his hand like they did the last time. Why can't the president, and even Nancy Pelosi said this, right? This is why you got to know this stuff. It could save you money, right? Lots of money. Or it could cost you lots of money. And what our politicians, especially at the federal level, have done over the last several decades, the last 4 or 5 decades, has really caused serious problems. Inflation, debt, and serious unpayable debt, unfunded debt, right? Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and other things there's no funding for them. And you've heard this problem before. Will Social Security be around much longer? When you're older, who knows where it's going to be, what it is going to be. Medicare, Medicaid, all that stuff, right? Right now it's unfunded. There's no way that they don't have the money. So they got to do something. Either give people less of it. We're going to cut your Social Security. We're going to cut your Medicaid, Medicare. Or we're going to charge people higher taxes. There's your 2 potential solutions, right? But there's another way to take care of the debt. And if you're not aware of what that is, then check out my econ videos, okay, economic videos. So we really need to get into the overview phase, first and foremost, of learning the Constitution, right? We need to get into the overview phase. So that's what I've got here. And what you try to do is break it down. The best we can do is usually take in information if you're going to learn about learning. The best we can do is usually take in information in strings of 3 and 4. I used to be a programmer, analyst, systems analyst, and we used to do concatenation. Look that word up, concatenation. That's nothing more than data string sets, You string data together. Of course, computers can do a lot more with data than our brains, our massively poor brains, are incessantly poor processors. So we generally take in information in strings of 3 or 4. That's why phone numbers are 333-814-6928, or Social Security 040-99-4216, right? Credit cards We break them up into, there's what, 16 digits, right? 4216, 9283, right? We have to break them up into units or groups of 3 and 4 because our brain really can't process. And if you don't, also we're terrible at remembering stuff. If you don't work at remembering or practice memorizing, and there are also techniques that you can use to practice memorizing or to keep things in your brains better. For instance, using your visual and audio voices, right? I guess we could say visual or audio receptors. If I want to remember, and I was just doing this the other day, I was trying to remember some codes that I had to put. You got a double check now, double system check. When you're trying to access valuable data, bank accounts, and whatever. So I was trying to remember 8 digits, and I would put the first 4 into my visual memory. I would see them, not say them. I would just see them. I'm looking, right? I'm visualizing, and I see them, and then the other 4 I put into my audio. 5, 6, 8, 9. 5, 6, 8, 9. 5, 6, 8, 9. 4, 2, 1, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9. And I did that. I did that with a phone number one time. My wife and I were out walking around, and we were looking at properties. Look at this house. Maybe we should invest in that house. I didn't have anything to write on, neither did she. This is back when Michael was very small. We're pushing him around, going for a walk. So I said, I'll remember it. It's just 7 digits. And I tried to remember it. By the time I got home, forgot it. 20 minutes later. Why? Because by that time you got home, there probably literally were dozens of things vying for my attention. Stuff I'm thinking about, stuff my wife is talking about, stuff that's around me that I'm looking at, that's happening around me, right? So the next time I tried to remember, I think it was maybe my license number or something. And, is that what it was? Yeah, something like that. I forget what it was. I've even done this with the codes to the car wash. That's like 7 digits or something. And I put four digits into my mind and another 4 digits into my audio. And I got home and I remembered the number, right? And it's actually stuck in my head for a couple of days. So these memory techniques are very useful. You got to understand the brain. If you're going to learn how to learn, you got to understand the shortcomings of the brain, what the brain can and cannot do, and then fix it. Figure out ways to enhance your weaknesses. Sounds like coaching all over again, right? So anyways, we need to learn how to learn. I'm going to do some videos on that, obviously, eventually. Right? So this is what's easier. You tell me. I don't have a copy of the Constitution. But is it easier to read the whole Constitution or just look at this? You tell me. Pretty easy answer there, right? Constitutional principles. There seems to be 6 of them. And then, you know what you do with the 6? You even put them into smaller groups. So you can really understand what the Constitution is about. And number 1, what's the number 1 thing? People have no idea. They have no idea what the Constitution is about. It's old, it's sexist, it's racist, get rid of it. No, you don't need to. It's a very general, loose outline of the 3 branches of government, interactions between the states or state rights, and then ratification, putting it into being, into existence. That's all it is. Very, very, very loose, rough outline, right? And it was set up that way because the Founding Fathers knew, well, time's going to pass. Things are going to change. They're going to become more and more people, become more and more complex. We don't know. We can't read minds. We can't look into the future. So we'll just leave it very, very open, right? And over time, the courts, Supreme Court mostly, right, interprets the laws, right? Like that Joe Biden thing. Did I finish that yet? Did I finish what happened there? But anyways, so the courts have set precedences time and time again. And how do the courts go? I don't know. Are they leaning right? Are they leaning left? Are they center? Where are they? Right? Depending on where they are. And still people don't understand, right? Like the Roe Wade issue. Oh no, Trump got rid of abortion rights. Didn't. What happened was that the decision making went from the federal, which is anti-constitutional, right? And went back to the states. Most of the time, that's how it's been, before and after the decisions were made at the federal level, right? Most of the time, before and after the decision to make the decisions at the federal level, or put in place, most of the time it was with the states, before and then after. Now again, right? So now the states make the decision. It's not gone, right? So people just, and I don't know what the press is doing. I wouldn't listen to the legacy media or mainstream media. If you paid me $1 million, well, maybe if you paid me $1 million. But anyways, what was I saying? Oh, Joe Biden. So the courts told Biden, and Nancy Pelosi even said this, right, that the president cannot forgive student loan debt. Why? It's a crime, right? You don't even know, right? Why? You're sitting there going, what's a crime? If the debt is forgiven, somebody's got to pay for it. Debt may be forgiven to the individual who had the student loan, who took out the student loan, but somebody's got to pay for it. So that payment of that debt is just passed on to the general taxpayer. None of these taxpayers, I'm guessing, few probably are aware that their tax bill went up because of this. Might be considered a hidden tax, right? Especially if people don't understand how things works, right? This is why you need to know this stuff. Another reason. So what happens is the debt is passed from the individual who's responsible for the debt to individuals who are not responsible or even aware of the debt or even aware of why their taxes are higher. That's a crime. That's like me going over to my neighbors and going, hey, Bill, I just bought a car. Give me the money. Right? That's what it's like. It's insane. So why would Biden do that? Well, it's getting close to election time. How about if I become Santa Claus and curry some favors? It's political, very political. And it's not just Democrats, Republicans do it, they all do it. Anyways, so number one, popular sovereignty. I don't know how long I'm going to go with this. Probably we'll just do the intro. And I've got a look at the government checks and balances. I also have the Bill of Rights here and the 27 amendments, and you got the 7 articles. And then we're going to do the Federalist Papers. Here's my little Federalist Papers notes that I've begun. So let's just do the general outline today. So this is going to be at least 3 videos, at least. Popular sovereignty. What is a sovereign? Yes, Your Highness, oh sovereign. You're a king, right? Idea that people are the source of all power held by the government. You want to rewrite that? If you rewrite the Constitution, where are you going to put the power? In the government? I would suggest against that. The government is very fleeting, right? People are elected, they're in and out of office all the time. I would leave it with the people, because the people are a constant, right? Idea is that people are the source. That's number one. It's number one in the order of the 6 items, general principles. It's also number 1 in importance. 2, limited government. Limited government, 2, separation of powers, 3, checks and balances, 4. Those 3 you could put into one group. It's all trying to, I don't want to say weaken, but lessen or limit the power of government, or give fewer opportunities to the government or the governing, right? Just like term limits and other limitations, to limit the governing powers, to limit the governing powers' power, right? Limited government. Government possesses only the powers the people give it. Look at, there's the people again. What's wrong with that? How, the people. The people are sovereign. All the power lies in the people, for the people, by the people, of the people, right? What's wrong with that? You want to rewrite that? Who are you going to give it to? Who's going to give it to you? Your neighbor's dog, right? Your favorite football player? Maybe you can give it to O'Shea Ohtani. Anyways, I like him. He might be good with the power. Anyways, government possesses only the powers the people give it. It must obey the Constitution, right? Oh, I must. Separation of powers establishes 3 separate branches that share the government powers. Now, there's a sharing, not a complete separation. The branches are separate, but the powers are shared, right? They're working together. They're not working separately. So get that out of your mind about the three branches being separate, completely separate entities. They're not. They're not like 3 separate states or something trying to run things, not collectively, but separately. So they share powers. These branches are the executive, legislative, judicial. Number 4, checks and balances. Ensures that none of the 3 branches can become too powerful, right? Limited government, separation of powers, checks and balances. It's all about making sure that the people keep the power. You want to rewrite that? Anyone? See? People talk, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They just go, blah, 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 blah. Yep. Post. I catch people all the time. People love to talk, love to pretend to know, but they're too lazy to do the work. Do the work and know. That's a leader. That's a doer. That's a mover and a shaker, right? Each branch has ways to limit the power of the other too. And that's what's on this thing here, right? Judicial review, power of the courts to decide what the Constitution means. Courts also have the power to declare a government action to be against the Constitution. And then federalism. Is it federalism? Federalism? Democracy? Is our country a democracy? Is it a federalism? Is it a republic? And Democrats are going, republic, Republicans, ooh, no. What do those words mean, right? Federalism divides the power between the central government and the states, right? And that's essential. And ultimately, the states have the ultimate power because that's where the people are. Not in Washington, right? So let's take a look at this. You've got your executive, your judicial, and your legislative, right? So everything begins, believe it or not, you might think in the executive, no. Where are laws made? Where do laws begin? In the legislative, right? But the president is the commander-in-chief. So, I'm nothing but a bill. I remember those cartoons from way back in the ancient times. Bill, just a bill, it'd become a law. So the bill would go from the legislation up to where? The executive. And then the executive would say yay or nay. If he vetoes it, then it has to go back and get even more votes. It has to get a supermajority of votes, not just a majority. Supermajority in this case is like 60-something%. I may be wrong. Again, not an expert, but I generally know what's going on. And again, to understand this stuff, you don't have to know minute details. Don't worry about it. The president is commander-in-chief. So, or he can just say okay, and then those bills become a law, right? And then once they become laws, the judicial steps in when need be on an as-need basis and interprets those laws, right? So the president is the commander-in-chief who can veto bills, as I said, recommend legislation, right? Such as Joe Biden saying student loan debt forgiveness. And then the courts come in and go, Joe, no, that's illegal. And Nancy even told you, don't do that. Call special sessions of Congress, right? The president appoints judges to fill vacancies. We know about that. Presidents can grant reprieves and pardons, That's interesting. Judicial may rule that presidential action is unconstitutional. Judges appointed by the president serve for life. That to me is problematic. I don't understand why that may be, but it is, right? Judicial interprets laws and may declare laws unconstitutional. We talked about that. Legislative can refuse judicial appointments. Authority to impeach judges. So we got impeachment power in the House and Senate, and also impeachment power in the judicial. And impeachment is not an arrest, right? It's a process. You have to go before the committee, and then the committee says, you're in trouble. We're going to send you to the Supreme Court for potential indictment, right? So an impeachment is not an indictment. It could lead to an indictment, but it's not an indictment. So understand definitions, terminology. In this, learning anything, and also in your own life, right? Understanding you. Can create lower courts, can propose constitutional amendments to overrule Supreme Court decisions, can override presidential veto, control appropriations, ratify treaties, bring them into being, declare war, refuse presidential appointments, impeach and remove the president from office. So the only one who doesn't have impeachment power is the executive. Interesting. So that is that for now. So what I will do later, I think there was something else that I needed to look at. I talked about this, the Articles of the Constitution. You got 7 articles, right? You got the preamble. You probably had to memorize some of that stuff for school, and you probably often wondered why. Then the first 3 articles, 1, 2, 3. It's about legislative, about the 3 branches: legislative, executive, judicial. And then number 4 is relations among the states. So how the states interact and how, laws between the states. And then 5, amending the Constitution. We got 27. Over time, hundreds of amendments have been proposed. I'll be all right. Only 27 allowed. 6, national debt, supremacy of national law, and oaths of office. And then 7, ratifying, right? So basically it's the 3 branches: state interaction, amending the Constitution, and then debt supremacy, laws and things of that nature, ratifying. It's again, getting a general outline, and now with all this outline stuff, you probably know more just with a good understanding of these three outlines, about the 3 branches, the principles, and then the 7 articles in the Constitution, right? Just knowing that stuff, you're probably ahead of the majority of people in the country who say they know what they're talking about. They don't. Believe me, they don't. So anyways, we'll get into more details the next time. We'll look at the Constitution, we'll look at the Bill of Rights, we'll look at the amendments, and then we'll take a look at the Federalist Papers. You really can't understand the Constitution without the Federalist Papers. And there's 85 of them. And I think there's 13 sections. They're kind of like essays. Most of these were essays that appeared in the newspaper way back in the day, right? Imagine that. Open up and you got Thomas Jefferson and some of the great intellectuals of their time writing posts, posting in the newspaper. Anyways, that's it for now. So until next time, until we get into the Constitution again next time, have a good day and take care.